to be making moves on the street. Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
Excited for this one.
Same. I rewatched it yesterday and then I realized I haven't seen this movie in a very long time.
Everybody, welcome to the second episode of Julius Has Never Seen This Movie.
It's already in your background, Torian. We're going to be reviewing Michael Mann's great film, Heat. None other than Heat. You know what? I've always wanted to watch this because I've been seeing a lot of film breakdowns, and in the film breakdowns on YouTube, they're always talking about Heat. They're always talking about this dialogue scene. They're talking about Al Pacino and Robert DeNiro finally meeting together in a scene. They talk about Michael Mann, and it's so good that I finally saw it. So this is not a bad movie. This is not a bad movie at all.
Some people consider it the greatest heist movie of all time.
Interesting. Why is that?
Some people do. I don't. But a lot of people have copied the style that Michael Mann took to make the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's just the cinema of it. The way that Michael Mann shoots the cinematography. It was in '95. It was like a huge deal. It was just like realism, and so a lot of people were inspired by it. But we could get into that. Everybody else opening statements?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Well, first of all, a little history behind the movie.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. You didn't think I was a cinephile, but here I am. But a little history behind Heat. So it originally began in the late 80s as a miniseries called LA Takedown. Mm-hmm. And then it was redeveloped into a TV movie, which I guess like performed all right. But I feel like Michael Mann felt like it could be something more. And hence, in 1995, we have Heat starring Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time they've been in the same scene on camera together.
Yes.
What's actually funny, going back to what James said, there's actually a movie that he put together even before LA Takedown. And the movie before that was called Thief, and that was back in 1981. He had written it, which was basically the beginning of Heat and everything. And he couldn't find a director that would take it. And he started mentioning it when he did the movie The Keep in '83. That he was, looking for directors, and that he said Walter Hill turned him down. And that's what ended up leading to him deciding, all right, maybe if I make this into a TV show, it'll work out. And as James explained, he ended up having to put it down into a TV movie.
I grew up just knowing the significance of this movie without even watching it. My oldest brother loves this fucking movie. Loves this movie. Like, I remember when I first started collecting DVDs, he bought me Heat. I didn't even ask for it. He bought it for me, and he was like, yo, here, like, you need this. So I always knew the significance of it. When I was younger, I feel like I just didn't have the patience for it. It was a really long movie. But when you watch it, and obviously when you appreciate De Niro and Pacino for who they are, like, I mean, it's a classic film. Definitely top 3 heist movies, but we'll get into that. What I didn't know was that it was based on a former police officer and his pursuit of someone in the 60s. I forget the criminal's name, but it was actually based on that.
It was based on Neil McCauley was actually the guy's name. Yeah, the actual story takes place in '62, and the detective was Chuck Adamson. And it was when Macaulay got out of Alcatraz, actually. A lot of the movie is taken directly from the story down to specific scenes. One of the most iconic scenes, when we get to it, we'll explain.
The funny thing is that there's so many plot holes in the movie.
Many plot holes.
Also, if you're like obviously we're all native New Yorkers, but people from Los Angeles always complain like the way like the travel time in that film was like horrible. Was horrible for them. Like Michael Mann had no knowledge of LA traffic or how getting through LA made no sense. So it was really funny throughout the shoot of the movie. Like he just was just like, all right, you're in West Hollywood. All right, now you're in downtown LA in 5 minutes. But it was just really unrealistic with those parts of the movie. It's always very interesting to me when I revisit this movie, because being an actor, I always think about, oh man, Pacino like would suggest, like, so him and DeNiro didn't see each other for the entire taping of the film till they had that infamous meetup.
Yeah.
So they had the unfamiliarity. So they didn't do any rehearsal or anything like that.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, they didn't do any rehearsal. So when they got to the scene, that was their first time. So there's a dumb rumor that it's not like they hated each other and that they were rivals, but they were actually like really good friends and they rooted for each other. Before the internet, people had the rumor like, do you know they're not even in the scene together? That's a stunt double talking to Pacino and DeNiro when they're doing the scenes, but they're actually in the scene together in the shop.
A lot of people forget this is their second movie together. It's just the first time they're actually on screen together because they were both in Godfather 2.
Yeah, in The Godfather, it was no reason to, like, unless they had like a time machine.
Yeah. Probably with the time machine sounds lit.
James has like one of his favorite scenes, and I wanted to talk about how Pacino ad-libbed a lot. So it's also funny because he pretty much got all method actors. So all of these guys are walking around thinking that they're actually the characters that they are in the movie and shit.
Absolutely.
And and I felt like Pacino like tried to like show up everybody, and they said like he was ad-libbing like a motherfucker throughout the whole movie. Like the whole scene where he was like, "She has a big fat ass." Like they said he ad-libbed that whole thing. She has a big fat ass.
And I believe that's my background right now.
That's the exact moment where he says, "It was that ass." To go to Torian's thing, which leads more to it. 2 years ago, Chris Nolan interviewed Michael Mann, Pacino, and DeNiro together. And for the first time, they reveal, and they actually hinted in the movie, and I didn't catch it until rewatching it recently. He explains that Pacino's character is supposed to be a cocaine addict, and he's on coke the entire movie. Yeah. So I'm thinking Pacino's a method actor. Pacino was definitely hitting rails in the bathroom before scenes.
You think so?
And if you're a method actor and you're Pacino in the 90s, what do you got to lose?
And it's funny that you mentioned Christopher Nolan, because if you haven't seen Heat but you've seen Dark Knight, those first 5, 10, 15 minutes of Dark Knight are wholly inspired by a lot of the heist scenes from Heat.
We have Val Kilmer, who almost didn't make the movie because he was filming Batman Forever. Keanu Reeves almost like was going to take the role, but Val Kilmer just did double duty.
Thank God.
And then you have DeNiro. DeNiro has all like these morals and all these rules, but he didn't follow none of his shit. Like this guy's one line was when you see the heat coming around the corner, you know, like, are you willing to drop everything? And then he just couldn't let it go. All he had to do was fucking leave. That shit just drives me crazy.
Yeah, that fucked up everything.
It's in my notes. That's in my notes.
He should have gotten the car and they could have just got the fuck up out of there. Like he didn't have walking past the car was stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was dumb. That's my biggest beef with the film. Of all the flaws of the film, that's probably my biggest beef.
I think my biggest beef is he wouldn't have gotten into, Macaulay wouldn't have gotten into any of that shit if he was able to kill Waingro within that first 20 minutes. Like he had him in the palm of his hand at the beginning, and it was just like, how do you let that dude just get away?
I used to think Ashley Judd was fire, by the way.
Ashley Judd is still fire. I don't care how old she is.
So Diane Venora plays Al Pacino's wife, and a young Natalie Portman plays his daughter.
Yeah.
That was Natalie's second film ever.
Her first being
this is her second movie.
I know. I'm referencing her first being fucking Professional.
Oh, right.
Are we ready to get into this?
I'm ready to get into it.
We have Robert De Niro stealing an ambulance. And then we see Val Kilmer buying the explosive. And then we see Al Pacino smashing his wife.
Which is gross. I hate that. I never want to see Al Pacino kissing nobody. That shit was disgusting. He was just, and then he ain't got no lips, so he just rubbing his nose into her face. It was just like, oh, what is this? This is gross.
And then we see a young Natalie Portman walking in, and this already just, I already love the cast so far.
Yeah.
So,
and a young Natalie Portman is in panic mode.
right?
Yeah.
She
Always
can't,
in this movie.
yeah, she can't find her earrings, and she,
Yeah, I think a big thing that they try to show very early is the wife, I mean, her mother cares more about what's going on with her relationship with Pacino than what's actually going on with her daughter. And the obvious manic mood swings that her daughter is having from the beginning of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we see the first few of the cast. Then we go to see the next bunch of the cast, and this is where the first heist scene takes place. It features Kevin Gage, who is Waingro, which is a key person in this movie. Danny Trejo, top 5 best Mexican actors to me, and Tom.
Name 4 others.
I knew somebody was going to say that. And
what about Clifton Collins?
What about Louis C.K.?
He's my top 5.
He's Mexican?
Yeah.
He's my top.
Yeah.
Why would you even name him? What?
He's Mexican.
And then we have Tom Sizemore, who is it Sizemore or Sizemore?
Sizemore.
So Tom Sizemore, who is just one brilliant actor who has a great person, like a screen personality, right?
This is before he gets addicted to drugs and celebrity rehab and all this shit. So this is him in his prime.
I think you're thinking of Chris Penn, but I'm not sure. But him and Chris Penn were in kind of that same lane where they would play like these like random goonish characters.
Specifically, I know that for a fact.
Okay.
He's still alive. Chris Penn passed away because of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so we see all the characters and we see what's going into play. Boom! We get the truck hitting the truck, the armored truck with the stuff inside of it, and we see the mask, the terrifying mask, which I love, and we see
I love that mask.
You said what?
I love that mask so much.
When I see this mask, it reminds me of the hockey mask. It reminds me of this movie. And then I believe it's Val Kilmer is in the truck, or was that Robert De Niro?
That was Val Kilmer.
Okay, so Val Kilmer, he's in the truck. We see the 3 security officers standing and trying not to die, and then next thing you know, we see Waingro egg stuff on, and boom, you hear the first shot. Bam, you see the second shot. And as
the way that guy was if I'm a bank robber or if I'm in a heist and the way that guy was looking at me, I would have shot him too.
Well,
okay, here's the thing.
They say it. And he literally tells him, Michael tells him, he goes, Slick, look at his ears. They're bleeding. He has no clue what's going on.
Exactly.
Hear you.
The guys, so basically what happened is like the guys are fucking shell shocked because number one, their van got hit and flipped over. And then number 2, they put explosives on the back of the van to blow it open. So the guys are all discombobulated.
And they can't hear shit. And once you can't hear, your equilibrium's fucked up.
He was just looking at him like,
I feel like this was a key scene that showed us that Waingro is a fucking psycho.
Yes.
Yeah. He's not anywhere near the reservation.
Yeah. When he first comes on, he's asking all these personal questions to Michael, like, because he's the new guy out the crew. They just met him for the first time to do this job because they were connected through John Voight's character, Nate.
Okay.
I just wanted to go back to Reg saying that he would have shot dude.
Right? You heard that, right?
That's the Detroit.
Huh?
We're not gonna skip over that, are we?
Well, I was just saying that because of the way he was looking at him, but then with the added context, I'm saying I'm putting myself in a psychopath's shoes.
That's that 8 Mile.
I think if we pulled the highest, Reg would be the Waingro.
Yeah, that's what I'm like getting at. I'm just like, yo, like
Initially, I thought maybe Julius, but now I'm certain that it would be Reg.
Wow. Okay, then.
Reg is like an onion. We're pulling back layers day by day.
And he stinks.
Okay, so after the three guys are dead. Then, we see them get rid of the evidence, the vehicle. Boom. Next scene with John Voight from Enemy of the State, one of the like classic great actors.
Angelina Jolie's daddy.
Angelina Jolie's daddy and Trump's best friend.
Which is weird.
Yeah, I was about to say John Voight's kind of he's very much a MAGA guy, unfortunately.
So we see him enter the screen. Then the next scene we see is with Al Pacino and his detectives, with the notable cast: Ted Levine from Buffalo Bill, well, who is Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, Wes Studi from Last of the Mohicans, and Mike Kelty Williamson, who is Bubba from Forrest Gump. So, they're figuring out the
very, very.
I didn't catch that till watching it for the show that was Bubba.
Right? I'm like, wow, this is really Bubba, and this is definitely dude from Fences. That's pretty interesting.
He's Don. He's Don Cheadle with worse roles.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna just continue. So boom, we slide through the scene with Robert De Niro talking to his soon-to-be love interest, right?
Oh man,
So one thing I did want to add from the scene of Pacino looking at the dead bodies, inspecting the dead bodies, you'll notice how like he's just off, right? Like he's not all there, and he's so jaded by this profession that like you're that close to dead bodies, and it's just like, yeah, like I mean, all right, like he just wasn't. It was yesterday was the first time watching it with the thought of like, yeah, like he's coked up. Like I watched the whole movie this time with that thought, and it made a lot more sense. Like a lot of things that he should just have like reactions to in some way, he just was kind of shut off to.
And then the things that he shouldn't have reactions to set him the fuck off.
Yeah. But yeah, get to the scene, Julius.
So Robert De Niro is talking to his soon-to-be love interest. This scene right here is where I really learned about the 180 rule. I believe what's next is the scene with Val Kilmer and Ashley Judd.
Yeah, Judd.
Ashley Judd. And Judd. I think this is hilarious because Val Kilmer, he's a degenerate gambler, and he's always fucking up shit, and she's going off on him about it, and he's like, yo, you got everything you want. What the fuck are you stressing me out about this shit?
He brought her home $8K, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, she said, I think she complained about it.
Yeah.
Nah, she's not complaining about the bread. She's complaining about his lifestyle and what he's doing, and the fact that he was supposed to be out of it, but the fact he keeps gambling keeps pulling him back in it, and he can't get out of it as long as he keeps gambling.
Yeah.
She knew what she was getting into, man.
The way he flipped that fucking house upside down, though, was crazy. It's so instinct.
Funny enough, I been reading up on it. I found out she actually looked into. She reached out to a group, support group for people who are wives to convicts and ex-convicts, and she said, and they said that she really took it all in and built up, and she was like understanding how you can have this same time anger and love for a person she didn't understand at the time, and then just understood, sometimes people just love people no matter how shitty of a person they are.
Yeah. I mean, toxicality of it all.
Yep.
So we're going to scramble all the way to the scene with Robert De Niro and Val Kilmer talking about Val Kilmer's wife.
Okay.
We hear this quote throughout the movie. One of the best quotes I like. Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
Yep, that's my favorite line of the whole movie too.
Yeah, that's title.
They literally say it like 4 times throughout the whole movie.
So yeah, this quote definitely it's like foreshadowing to us.
It was fucking annoying.
It just said like even Neil, DeNiro's character, even his setup in his house is just like so telling of how he is. He doesn't want to be attached to anything, but you have the most beautiful house, but won't furnish it because it's like, I'll get to it. Like he kept saying that, like I'll get around to it. It's just about like how it spoke to how much on the go he is, and to the attachment issue that he has.
I also think that that phrase is so ironic because pretty much most of the members of that crew kind of have certain attachments that they have. Like Chris, played by Val Kilmer, has his wife and his kid. Tom Sizemore's character has his family. Trejo has his wife, and then
by the way, that's lazy as fuck that they named Jenny Trejo.
Trejo, yeah. And Neil initially has nobody, and he's a guy who initially came up with that phrase, but then he meets somebody, Edie. So it's like everybody has some kind of attachment to something that like they would probably think twice about if they were.
It's a metaphor. These women are the downfall of every great man. Kidding. Kidding.
So let's scrabble to the next scene. Our introduction to Dennis Haysbert, who is officially very well known for being the All-State man, and with the deep voice.
The poor man's
Denzel. The poor man's.
All right. So his storyline was there was no purpose. That was just some added shit in there, and it served no purpose. It was stupid.
Wow.
Him being like, it was dumb. Like there was no point for him to be in the movie. Like his character, his storyline was dumb. Like there must be stuff that was left on the cutting room floor. There was no purpose for it, Danny.
No.
Wow.
I think. Okay, the one thing I saw them putting that in is because throughout the movie they keep telling DeNiro. DeNiro keeps having the question of, do I do this? The heat is on. He knows the heat is on. He keeps having the question, do I do this or not? Do I do this or not? He keeps saying that the sentence is worth it if he can get away with it. Now, I think with this is it shows that he's so desperate that now he's starting to act irrational. He's not being his usual overprotective self. He's not being his calculated self. And he makes a split decision just because he recognizes the guy in the kitchen in that moment when they're going to sit down the first time. He didn't know he was there. He literally says, hey, he tells Chris, hey, you recognize that guy in the back? That's such and such from Cell Block D. And then in that moment when Trejo, in the matter of 30 seconds of Trejo saying, yo, I'm not going to be able to make it, the cops are on me, he decides, boom, that's who I'm going to go get. So that's the only reason I could see that. But other than that, you're 100% right. That's the only thing I could see is that they needed a person there they need to give the guy a background of why he was there to begin with.
They needed a getaway driver, and he was a good getaway driver. What I'm just saying is that it, like for me, it didn't. That movie is so long, like they could have like gave it more of a backstory, but I just thought it was like stupid and pointless. Like, and then it's like even showing the imagery of like when everything goes down and like his wife or his girl like is sees that he's a part of the last big robbery and shit. I just think Diet Denzel didn't need to be in there. They just like Michael Mann just wanted to kill another black man on camera. That's how I felt.
So
I kind of felt like it was just to have a black character in it. Period.
So that's our introduction to Dennis Haysbert. We all off bat we know that he's a felon on parole, and I like this. I like this scene because he just introduced himself, but it's his facial reaction is what tells us, what's going to happen in the movie already, and we know that from his facial expression. We know he's going to hate his job. We know he's going to hate his boss, and we know that. Damn, he might meet up with Robert De Niro's character and join them. So I really, really appreciate that kind of acting where it's a show and don't tell. Yeah. After this, we're going to move forward, and then we're going to go to the snitch, played by Tone Loc, in the club.
Tone Loc always playing a cop or a snitch.
Yeah. And he's talking to Al Pacino's character about Tom Sizemore's character.
Tone Loc, shout out to him. He was one of the first like hip hop artists like that string. Like you had Ice Cube, you had Ice-T, getting a lot of attention and a lot of work. Big Daddy Kane was getting a lot of work. Tone Loc had that unique voice where like Hollywood couldn't deny him, so that's how he got like a lot of voiceover work and stuff. Like he was Sea Bear and Jamal, if y'all remember that cartoon.
Yep.
And he was in Blank Check. He got a lot of work to do.
He was in
and
Surf Ninjas
for commercials. What happened, Danny?
He was in Surf Ninjas.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he was
God.
I gotta see that.
Ace
I gotta see that
Ventura,
again.
like he was in mad shit.
Yeah. When he's wiping his tongue in Ace Ventura.
Yeah. He has one of the most unique voices in the history of human like of humanity. So I thought that was pretty cool that he got put in this movie. One other fun fact, 95 was a really dope year for DeNiro because Casino also dropped this year.
Yes.
DeNiro would love 3-hour movies, right? Just
I was actually I'll wait to get into that. But
all right, cool.
But yeah.
All
that's
right.
another fun fact.
So we're continuing this storyline, and in the story we have a character that's introduced, William Fichtner, who played in Armageddon and Black Hawk Down. They apparently they stole some bonds from him, and they want to give it to him, but at a price. So they go on with it, and they meet up, and next thing you know, boom, a double cross hit. Of course, Val Kilmer and Robert De Niro's characters flee out of there. Then, they hit him up. Hey, what's up? What's going on? The dialogue happens. This dialogue is truly amazing because Robert De Niro, another fire quote, said, okay, I guess I guess we'll speak again because I'm talking to an empty telephone. He said, what do you mean? Because there's a dead guy on the other end of the line.
Yeah. Telephone.
The quote is, I guess I'm talking to nobody.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you mean? And he said, because I'm talking to a dead man on the other end of the line. That's what he said.
Really an incredible quote. Really an incredible
so
quote.
Good. That was peak De Niro. That was a peak De Niro moment in this movie.
I watched on the rewatch. I watched it with somebody who had never seen it before, and their face as soon as it was set was, "Oh shit, it's about to get real." I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
And then also another thing is that character, nobody, he was in Dark Knight in the beginning.
Ben Ross,
yeah, he
played in the beginning of the scene.
He played the bank owner who had the grenade put in his mouth at the end.
Which was always a weird scene to me because he had it in his mouth and his hands was free.
He was scared.
So you leave something in your mouth because you're scared?
Well, he can't exactly take it out because he's scared it's a grenade anyway, and they pulled the pin out. And he fucking, think about it.
Moving along. All right, so we are going to go forward in the story, and then Wayne Grove comes back into play and throws us for a loop when he says, "Oh, girl, you don't know what." He's with the young woman, and he says, "Girl, you don't know the Grim Reaper's visiting you." And then we find out he murders an innocent child, who, and he finds out he could be a serial killer.
Yeah, he's that. Yeah.
He's a fucking psycho. Like,
yeah, when Pacino comes up to the crime scene, it goes the same MO for recently. All the other girls, their head bashed in.
Right.
I think the nature of his character also. Well, I mean, it's something we can go into more depth later on in this conversation, but the nature of Wayne Grove's character, I feel like, serves as a part of why De Niro's character felt like he had an obligation to stick around longer than he should have.
He had enough money to get Wayne Grove taken care of in the long run.
Yeah. Really quick, while Julius runs against food. What movie would so y'all say that this movie is of all the heist movies, this movie is the end all be all heist movie?
I never considered it a heist movie because I feel like the idea of the heist is secondary to the conflict of the characters.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of I feel like it's a cat and mouse kind of movie, I don't know there's a term for it.
Cat and mouse kind of movie. Yeah, you're right.
That is the actual term?
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
It sounds right, but
I would, for me, I always, I'm younger, so there's obviously there's a movie like the actual The Heist with Gene Hackman in it. Is considered one of them.
No, that's up there for sure.
The Italian Job, but for me, with, like, and me just being in my age group, so I'm biased. I always say Jackie Brown is like my favorite heist movie.
That's a good one. That's a good
One of
one.
my favorite heist movies. Well, actually, I guess it's not really technically a heist movie. Is what you call it, Reservoir Dogs.
Right. Yeah.
What's the one with Edward?
Technically, it
Norton?
is.
What's the one with Edward Norton, Marlon Brando, and De Niro?
25th Hour.
No. It was random. It was De Niro, Edward Norton, and Marlon Brando, and it was like one of Marlon Brando's last roles.
I can't think of the
Somebody
name.
looking that up?
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, like I was talking to one of my boys, and he was like, "Yo, the Ocean's movie." I was like, "Nah."
I like Ocean's.
Like we know they're gonna win.
Yeah, Ocean's is enjoyable. One of my favorite heist movies.
The Score. Yeah, my bad.
The Score.
That's what it was.
Michael Douglas in that?
No, it was De Niro, Ed Norton, and Marlon Brando and Angela Bassett.
Okay.
And Angela Bassett was De Niro's love interest because De Niro likes black women.
De Niro likes the Chazzy.
Actually, I'm sorry. The Goonies heist.
That was a heist
movie.
One of my favorite heist movies is The Town. I love.
The Town is really good.
Yeah, the writing in that was.
Ben Affleck wouldn't try that shit though.
Huh?
Ben Affleck wouldn't try that shit in My Town.
I think one of the best heist movies ever is Set It Off.
I'm indifferent about Set It Off because they did a lot of dumb shit.
Dead Prez.
Oh yeah, Dead Presidents. Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Is Dead Presidents a heist movie though?
Yeah, they're robbing.
Shit, that's a terrible heist movie.
It's not a heist movie.
Yeah,
it is.
They're robbing the card game.
They don't necessarily have to get away with it, I would say.
No, they're robbing the truck, the armored truck.
Yeah,
the armored truck. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they robbed the truck at the end, but that I wouldn't say that's a heist movie. That was all in conjunction with like how his life went that led him to like robbing that, and then it went bad and he went to jail for 25 to life. Like it wasn't. I don't think that's a heist movie.
I mean, I feel like a heist doesn't have to pay off in a heist movie necessarily.
Well, no, it's not. Well, I don't. It's not that I don't consider it one because it didn't pay off, but it's just it went with how his life was. So it's not like
So you're saying it's more about his life than it's about the heist?
It's about his life. Yeah, it's definitely about his life because you saw him get out, and it's not about that president, but you saw him get out of military and everything or the army and trying to get a job, failing to get a job, and then him being frustrated and then leading to him doing what he did. And then ending up in jail. So
okay, so
Suspects.
Usual Suspects.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
that's a great one.
What was that? What was that one with T.I. and Chris Brown and Paul Walker?
Takers.
Oh, Takers. Takers wasn't bad.
Niro was in another heist movie called Ronin.
Ronin is great.
Yeah, shout out to Clint Barton. Inside Man.
Oh, of course.
Inside Man, yeah.
Inside Man is really
Man on the Ledge is one that I enjoy too. That's like a guilty pleasure of mine.
I don't think I've seen it.
Man on the Ledge is pretty good.
Have you guys seen The Marauders?
Nah,
I haven't.
The Marauders has Vince from Entourage, mad weird. Vince from Entourage and Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is in it too. It's mad random, but it's enjoyable. I think you
Fast Five.
You said Fast Five.
I ain't gonna lie, yeah, Family, man. The Family definitely got some heist gems.
That series so
much.
Okay.
Family.
So after Wayne Grove, right, we have the scene where Al Pacino and his Al Pacino's character and his detectives were made because they were following Robert De Niro and his character's trail, and the next thing you know, Robert De Niro character figures out. He says, "You know what they were looking at? You know what they were looking at?"
No. You're skipping the whole thing because when they got caught. Did you mention how they got caught? Almost.
Oh, where? Which one? Which scene was that?
All right, so there's a scene before that leads them to want to do that. And what happens is they're trying to Pacino and everybody's trying to figure out what the next score is going to be before they do it.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So they figure out what it's going to be. They're supposed to be taking some precious rocks or something. And they figure out how they're going to get in and everything. So the night of, you see Chris and Neil go do the job. They're all going to do the job, and DeNiro's keeping lookout, Neil, and he hears something. He hears one of the officers make a noise, and it's such a light noise, but it's just a random noise. And he's there for a few seconds, like he's waiting to see, and he just gets this bad feeling, and he goes in and he tells Chris, "Stop, we're walking." So they're leaving, and the cops have the decision: if they arrest them now, they can get him for breaking and entering, send him back to jail for 6 months. And Pacino's like, nah, fuck that. We need to keep an eye on them. We're getting them for the long haul. So he makes everybody stand down. And feeling that heat on them is when DeNiro decides, let's fuck with the cops and let's go to the pier, where Julius could explain from there.
Real cokehead tendencies right there on Pacino's part.
Yep.
Real cokehead vibes.
Yep.
Let's get it off.
Wait, did we also skip the great scene that's behind James, I think?
No,
yes,
I think
please get into that scene.
We did skip that scene because that's how they figure out that. Isn't that how they figure out what the next move is?
I thought that was
That's
later.
towards the end. Nah.
Yeah, that's the end.
Later.
So she's got a great ass. That scene was not that line was made up.
Movie.
Anybody want to talk about that?
We're not there yet.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. That's
okay.
You're explaining the pier scene where the cops get.
Yeah, the pier scene. So Robert De Niro and his buddies, they come on the pier. They're just saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to go there. Here's this, and then they leave. Next thing you know, we find out that Al Pacino and his detective buddies, boom, they're trying to figure out the next score. Next thing you know, Al Pacino's looking around. He's saying, "You know what they were looking at? You know what they were looking at? They were looking at us. Mm-hmm. We're made." And then you see Robert De Niro all up in the high rise, snapping pictures with them.
Also, John Boyd's character is based on a real criminal who actually wound up becoming a Hollywood actor as well.
Holy shit!
Wow,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, they're all based on like these criminals, and a lot of the characters are based on like real life criminals and real life people. Because Val Kilmer characters also like Michael Mann just made all of them a team and like an ensemble, but like they all had like separate cases that he was like obsessed with, and that's why he was trying to build the show.
Let's scramble forward to the scene where we see Al Pacino tailing Robert De Niro. Next thing you know, Robert De Niro is pulled over. A few taps on the screen, it's Al Pacino. Hey, you want a coffee? Did he say he wanted a coffee, right?
Yeah, he did.
So I'm like, oh, wow. This is pretty, okay, this is going to be pretty good. Then we get to, for the first time, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro sharing a scene together.
The meeting.
Good of a criminal you have to be for a cop to want to sit down with you and be like, listen, I ain't got nothing on you now, but I'm going to get you. And like, motherfucker, the coffee?
That's some real shit.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that this is
with that shit. The only way we can get away with that shit.
I think this scene also, when you go and listen to their dialogue, it explains shit, and it goes back to how Reg was discussing earlier about Pacino's character and about how he handles everything. The fact he is slightly coked out also. They kind of have that exchange where it's like, Pacino asks him, why don't you do something regular shit? Why don't you not take a score? Then I don't have to chase you down, and you don't have to go back to jail and have that choice to fight for your life. And De Niro's like, but that's not me. He's like, is it you? Is that you? Is that how you became a cop? Is that what, and Pacino realizes, like at a certain level, he can't function normally either. So they have a mutual respect and understanding of each other at that point. And they tell each other basically, look, you know, at the end of the day, each one of them is going to do their job. And if one has to kill the other, then they're going to do it.
Foreshadowing. So after that great dialogue and screen time, I'm going to move past straight forward because this is 3 hours. Move straight forward to the diner scene. The diner scene where he recruited Dennis Haysbury's character. And this is really interesting to me. This is why I liked his role, is because he literally, Robert De Niro said, hey, I got to know right now, 10 seconds, yes or no. And it's like one decision could ruin your life.
And he's working at a diner as a cook, So that right there, you just like the minute you see him, you're just like, yo, this dude's fed up. Of course he's gonna say yes.
Yeah, when he first gets there, the boss tells him, I'm hiring you because this is a program for parolees. He's like, you got to give me 25% of your check every week off top. He said, if you don't believe me, ask your parole officer. He knows what's up.
Crazy.
And he treats him like shit, basically.
Yeah. So they recruit his character as the driver. Bam. So we're into the heist. We get here. They're rolling up. You know, they come into the bank.
Julius, hold on, Julius.
Why they needed him as the driver? Because the cops were following Trejo, and he called ahead. He's like, "Yo, I can't shake the cops. I can't join the guy. I gotta step out of the heist." Like he was like, "I gotta omit myself to save the rest of the crew and save the heist. I can't do this."
Another thing I wanted to say is that they actually train with. It's weird. So they train with Navy SEALs to get prepared to do the heist.
Oh wow.
Like, so like they were like extremely prepared. Like that's like they were taught how to hold guns properly and everything like that. So, and be suited up. So that was also really cool to me because, I mean, you should learn these things, but most actors don't care to learn. But Michael Mann was really, really like adamant about that. Like them looking as authentic as possible.
Yeah.
And knowing how to use guns. Because you gotta think about it, most criminals, like they're just criminals. They're not ex-military and shit like that. Like all of them, like if you watch it, like they know how to hold guns, they know how to like conceal them and shit like that. They know how to hold and shoot, catch them. Val Kilmer looked like he was like like he knew how to like really like he was a sharpshooter or some shit. So.
Yeah.
So the budget was definitely $60 million. So I believe it. I believe they got that training.
I also feel like that kind of adds to the mystique of the crew because you never really dive too much, if at all, into any of their backgrounds, their pasts. So, so the way this heist was executed, or the way they attempted to execute it, like you could probably assume that these guys were in the military or like they did some other shit prior to this that involved using weapons.
So they just came straight in the bank. No mask. And I'm like, oh, wow, they're going to do this bare naked. Okay. Until you see them putting on the mask and them, beating up the security guards. And then from a cutscene, we see, we're back in the office at the police station. Hey, I got a tip from a guy who's, are you surveilling Robert De Niro's character? He said, yeah. Oh, well, we got a tip from the bank. They're planning to do it. And then the detectives figure it out. Boom. Go back to the bank heist. They get it. They got it. They get the money. Next thing you know, you see Al Pacino down the block, them setting up a perimeter, and we see, them drive off. Boom. The classic showdown happens. All you hear is gunfire. But those were M16s or M4s probably. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of ammunition they had. And that I wish I was there to just see them film that, because that was like a lot of bullets, a lot of glass everywhere, and it was like filmed really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quiet too, so it was pretty like hella dope.
Yeah, like usually in scenes like that, like that shit was just straight up gunfire.
Right?
Yeah, there was no score, nothing.
There was no score. I thought that stood out to me too.
I think they needed a fifth person. I really do.
They couldn't fit 5 people in a car comfortably.
I know, and I was thinking like, so boom, Val Kilmer gets shot. Tom Sizemore gets shot, but he dies.
Yep.
And they're recovering and everything. Well, Val Kilmer is recovering, and Robert De Niro goes to see Trejo.
With Ari Gold as his doctor.
You said what?
Ari Gold was his doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Bob.
Yeah.
So Robert De Niro goes to see Trejo, and Trejo is jacked up. His family is like done up. He gets a tip.
He goes to kill him because he assumes that he's the one who snitched, and that's what the cops knew.
Yeah. So he gets a tip of who it is. Of who it is. So let's go over to the scene where we see the detectives really investigating everything. They find out that Will Fichtner, the guy whose bonds were stolen, dies because Robert De Niro kills him because he found out about Waingro. And then we see Ashley Judd getting pushed to snitch on Val.
So I think they had caught up with a guy that
who was sleeping with Ashley Judd.
Yeah, who was played by Hank Azaria.
Ashley Judd is going to have to ID him. Now, me seeing all other heist films and all other movies, I'm thinking she's going to snitch on him.
Mm-hmm. Nah, she's not IDing him. They're using her as bait.
Yeah. I'm thinking, oh, she's going to welcome him. It's over. Boom, she doesn't. She gives him the slick, don't come here. So Val Kilmer goes, down the street. They try to figure out if it's him. I think it was a fake ID, right? We see, Al Pacino's daughter, played by Natalie Portman, attempts suicide in the bathroom. And I feel like that really threw the film for a loop.
I thought it was coming for a while. Like you could see she was depressed and having issues with her mother, reaching out to Pacino and Pacino being the one to listen, but he's still preoccupied with his job.
Yeah.
Like when he go pick her up and notice something was wrong, he spoke to her mother about it.
It was kind of one of those scenes that didn't really add anything to the movie nor take away from it. Mm-hmm. Like I felt like maybe the movie didn't need that scene, but it definitely.
I don't think so either.
I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't need that.
I'm always very conflicted about that subplot.
It was so weird to me. It was so weird to me.
Wait, we passed the part. We did pass the part where Charlene was cheating, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
So his Al Pacino's wife was cheating on him.
No, not Al Pacino.
No, we haven't passed that part yet, and that's not Charlene. He's talking about Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd, yes, she's cheating, and that gets explained earlier in the movie.
I'm sick of it. You hear me?
Shut the fuck up. Yo, he wild on her. But look, so I wanted to talk about with that, and I'm sorry if you're watching, viewers, and our sequencing is off, but I just wanted to add for that part in particular. Torian brought up Casino. This scene fully reminded me of Casino. Like, she reminded me of Ginger in this scene because of like with the not just with the cheating, but just sneaking off and the way she snuck off with this dude to go cheat and everything like that. And it spoke a lot to how De Niro's character was, where he was like, yo, like, you're gonna take him back and you're gonna give him another shot. If he fucks up again, then whatever, but you're gonna give him another shot. But there was his own ulterior motive there, because he was just doing that because he wanted everybody in his crew to stay focused. And he knew some shit like her rearing off and fucking somebody else and cheating on him or even leaving him would throw him off. and they didn't need that for their next case. So I feel like, you know, everything, as selfless as he is still all for his better being. DeNiro's character.
And that was a horrible reason to cheat. She was cheating on a nigga like literally just because he had a gambling habit. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Like her logic was nuts. She was saying, "I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all these nice things. I want to get fucked in hotels."
Mm-hmm.
I just want to also add that the scene where she silently waves off Val Kilmer's character was so good.
Yeah.
The how subtle it was, but also how obvious it was at the same time, I guess you could say. There were a lot of scenes like that. What was that YouTube show I was mentioning earlier that also did
Watchable?
They had mentioned the scene where, and this was earlier on, where De Niro is saying to Tom Sizemore and Val Kilmer, "Yo, this is going to be the last score, and that's it." And they kind of do a subtle shot to Chris, where he's like, "What the fuck?" Like where he's like surprised by that and almost.
Yeah, like this the last one. Like he was ready.
Because it's like he's using this money to feed his gambling addiction almost.
Yeah.
Chris was not ready to leave the game yet. He was like, "What you mean?" Like,
yeah.
I also enjoyed it when he woke up drunk in Robert De Niro's house.
After we see his stepdaughter attempt suicide, we then see, you know, Robert De Niro and his love interest, they're escaping. So they're finally getting away, and he's finally getting away. Until he finds out he has the info on Waingro.
Mm-hmm.
Does he escape peacefully, or does he have unfinished business to handle?
Sure.
And
Out of there.
And this is a part of his downfall, is that he sadly goes after Waingro.
Yeah, he could have gotten away, but I felt like his character, I felt like Neil has this kind of, I guess, like weird sense of honor, because, you know, like Waingro led to Trejo's death, obviously. And,
no, he's who killed Trejo.
Yeah.
Like he killed Trejo, and then he got the information out of Trejo for the cops, and then snitched on them to the cops.
Yeah, so I felt like he chose, you know what, like this guy deserves to get his versus.
And Pacino plays dirty. So Pacino's the one who ends up being the one who got the tip from Waingro. Then on top of that shit, he's the one who puts it out on the streets where Waingro is without Waingro knowing. He calls it like, "Yo, put it out on the streets. Let him know, because that's how we're going to get him."
So, boom. We know where Waingro is now. And next thing you know, we see Robert De Niro come inside the hotel, go after Waingro. Boom. Hops in, kills him. He pulls the fire alarm to escape. We see him running down the stairs. We see a shot of the car. Next thing you know, we look to our right. Boom, Al Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about it. How the fuck did he get there so fast? Talk about
it.
He
almost choked. Pause.
Michael Mann has there's no reason why Al Pacino should have been there.
He ran fast.
That's cokehead speed, bro. That's that cokehead speed.
He ran fast.
Yo, his daughter just tried to kill herself. You know how mad my mother, if I tried to kill myself, you know how mad my mother would be if my stepdad said, I got this case. Like, what?
Yeah. Got this habit. He's got this habit.
He's just halfway in on everybody's life. Well, except for, his professional life. He's all in on that shit, but he's still jaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. That is like he did get there really fucking fast.
So, boom. You see Al Pacino. And here comes the foreshadowing. Where the quote, I got it. Allow nothing to be in your life if that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat. If you spot the heat around the corner in 30 seconds, unless they he left her flat.
Right there.
She was baffled.
And she was right there, yeah.
Yeah, man, because of fucking the Flash showed up.
The rail.
Okay, boom. The airport scene where they're having the final duel.
Showdown.
Yes, the showdown.
Yeah.
So, we see them in the shadows. We see them, with their gun held up. Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? Someone's hiding. Like, where's Al Pacino? We know where Robert De Niro is, but where's Al Pacino? Is he lost? Like, is he in the front or is he in the back? Next thing you know, we see the lights from an airplane pop up. And as soon as Robert De Niro turns to the left, bam, bam, we see
My guy.
take down Robert De Niro.
That's 3.
For the final scene.
I just want to say my biggest take from the scene is that TSA really wasn't shit. Because the motherfucker was freely running around on the fucking open tarmac with guns blasting at each other with no fucking checking or anything.
I mean, yeah, this was pre 9/11. Nobody gave a fuck.
It was.
Think about it, bro. Pre 9/11, like people was getting in the airport without IDs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could walk your whole family to the gate, no problem.
That ass.
Word.
I still remember when it was instilled, like, hey, you got to take your shoes off at the airport. Niggas was wilding off that. Like, I got to take my shoes off? Like, it was different, man. It was different.
Yeah.
So, wow, we've reached the end of this. Julius, I do want to know how you feel about this movie overall.
Ooh, here's a hot take. So I actually I like it. I like the coloring. Shout out to all the editors. Michael Mann, he is
always had this movie always had like a blue hue.
Yeah. That's why I like the color. You can tell a lot about a movie when you see like some of the first scenes with the color. So it got right down to it. Michael Mann as the director, producer, and the writer, very inspirational. So great, incredible, a cast of ensemble. The sound was beautiful because it was quiet when it needed to be quiet, but when it had some sound in it, it's like some music to it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just some like chords. It wasn't like any music,
Yeah.
It was like very, very adult.
Yeah.
So shout out to Elliot Goldenthal for that.
Yeah. I did like that about it too, because it felt like that. I mean, obviously it was done on purpose, but it felt like it was done to pull in the realism more of it.
Yeah.
And it helped. I do really, really enjoy this movie. I think it's just crazy to me that like before this process, like when I was watching it last night and I was looking up, little fun facts and shit like that, and I came across the fact that this movie didn't receive any nominations or awards. That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
because it's so heralded and it's so loved, and I feel like a different person or different people discover it every year and really attach to this movie, really love this movie.
I think the reason why, unfortunately, is because action films didn't get recognized back then, and this was like deemed more of like a action film, even though it had like all of these amazing actors in it. Mm-hmm. And with the storylines, but like as time goes on now, like when you revisit, you're like, nah, like they definitely like missed the mark. Even with the cinematography, how the cinematography didn't win anything, how the editing didn't win anything, how the sound didn't get nominated.
The sound definitely should have been nominated.
I feel like this was one of those movies in the 90s that definitely led the charge of movies and like in this genre, kind of like heist movies and kind of like cat and mouse style movies having like a certain visual aesthetic. Like for instance, Seven had that. pretty much every movie that kind of took after Heat had that whole look to it, kind of very, very, very just linear, very, very bluish, very, you know, like even with, like I said, with The Dark Knight, they kind of were completely inspired by the heist scene and that opening for it. So,
here's a hot take. I think Set It Off is better than this movie.
You know what? What I don't like about Set It Off is not so much the movie, it's just their decision making. Terrible decision making all around.
You're saying that women make terrible decisions, Reg?
I'm saying that those women made terrible decisions. That's all I'm saying. But and that kind of bleeds into how I feel about the movie. But it is a good movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at you for saying that either. I mean, I enjoy Set It Off. It's a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that either. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is just me because I like drama, but I feel like a heist movie isn't that good of a heist movie without a few bad decisions made by some of the characters.
I agree. I agree with that.
For sure. That's true. So
what do you think got to fuck it up for it to be a good movie?
Absolutely.
Who do you guys say was the movie's MVP?
Al Pacino.
Val Kilmer.
Man, I was going to say Val Kilmer, but Al Pacino got his voice control. It's crazy.
My man Val Kilmer got away, man. He got away. He probably Vegas and was wild.
Real life, he got caught a couple days after.
You said you realized what?
In real life, he got caught a couple days after.
Yeah, but we talking about in the movie. In the movie, he went to Vegas and was wilding. He was like, he don't got no more responsibilities. He don't got to be a father no more.
That's true. I was gonna say John Boyd's character because he was making bread off of everything.
Yeah, you're right. Shit, I didn't think about that because James said that because that's absolutely who James would be. Like, y'all be all right over there.
He was the guy who was like, "Oh, y'all want to do this? All right, not a good idea, but you got it."
He's like, I'm not gonna help you, but I'll help you.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys want to know how much the actual heist was for back in '64?
How much?
$13,137.
Hell no.
Now it's completely different.
Which is equivalent to about $108,000 nowadays.
Exactly. Hell no.
Yeah, that's
It's still a hell
crazy.
no.
Yeah. The shit.
I mean, and Set It Off, they only robbed that bank for $20,000. Remember that shit?
That was 20 stacks?
That was 20?
The first
Really?
robbery. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, the first robbery, that makes sense because they was just getting their feet wet.
It still wasn't upwards of 100,000 what they robbed, even though it wasn't that much.
Like, even this movie's not that much. 12 mil?
Yeah, that is a lot.
12 mil's not a lot, Danny?
Not for like what you hear in movies for bank heists and stuff.
Oh no, man.
If 12 mil is not a lot for you to steal. A million's a lot. Like somebody be like, we're gonna rob $1 million. I'm fucking shook.
12 million's a lot, bro. I mean, but Danny didn't think 100 million was enough from Jordan. Remember that?
Still don't. Anyway.
So yeah. That's it. I like this movie.
Dr. Evil asked for more money coming out of the fucking cryo chamber, all right?
He did.
So after this, after this movie, the next time we see, my next time seeing Al Pacino and Robert De Niro together is this next movie is like
Righteous Kill.
Righteous.
It was like it was good, but
that movie was not it.
It was so disappointing.
I feel like it was just poorly directed. The story was good, the acting was good, but the poorly directed.
I thought it was hilarious how 50 Cent milked the fuck out of like barely being in that movie and made it seem like he was all up in it with them.
Bruh.
I mean,
It's like 3 other movies with Val Kilmer that nobody knows about.
I like that movie with 50 Cent and Val Kilmer now.
There's 3 of them.
Oh shit!
I like. Speaking of heist movies, I like Den of Thieves.
Den of Thieves. Who was in that?
Yeah, Den of Thieves was good.
Ice Cube Jr.
Ice Cube Jr. is in it.
Oh, okay.
Gerald Butler, that's in it.
Gerard Butler, yeah.
Gerard Butler is in it.
But he's the guy that was on the second season of The Wire. Just that he's on steroids now.
Yo, doesn't Clooney have a comedy, not Ocean series, a comedy heist movie where he's in a wheelchair?
I just remember him looking behind some bushes or some shit.
Yeah, and he's picking locks and shit. He teaches them how to pick the locks or whatever.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
There's that reminds me of another heist movie, kind of like in that vein, where Daniel Craig plays like this redneck dude that's in jail, and these 2 guys are trying to rob like a
Logan Lucky.
Yeah, Logan Lucky. Yeah. Yeah, it was. They were trying to break him out of jail in order to complete the heist.
Yeah, Logan Lucky. I actually enjoyed that movie too. Daniel Craig is in that movie, right?
Yeah,
James Bond.
That's interesting. I've never seen it.
Well, Julius.
Well,
guys.
Okay, the movie's Welcome to Collinwood.
Welcome to Collinwood. So, Julius, would you recommend this movie to other people? Would you tell people that this movie is something that they need to watch?
Need to watch? No. Want to watch? Yes.
Okay. Did it live up to the hype of all the hoopla that, like, could you have gone with never seeing this movie?
Nah, I would have had to see this movie. I would definitely have had to have seen this movie. I do think it's a little bit overhyped as like the best heist movie. But this is a movie you want to watch, especially as a filmmaker.
Okay. All right. And with that being said, everybody, this is another episode capping off of Julius Has Never Seen This Movie, everybody. We'll see you.